I became, I guess, obsessed with enterprises. And I started out fascinated by big enterprises, General Motors, and working through those other 499. And what makes winners? What makes losers? What really makes for success? And I went on to a life of studying business, and I worked on Wall Street. I studied economics at the University of Chicago. I worked for 3 Fortune 500 companies, and then I've done 4 startups. Some have worked, some haven't. And I continue to be fascinated by what makes enterprises work. And when I say enterprise, I mean any time you've got a group of people who have a shared vision of the future, who have common goals. So for me, the University of Northern Colorado is an enterprise. The Red Cross is an enterprise. You can make a case that the most successful enterprise in human history is the United States of America. And I'm a believer in what I call doing your homework. Any industry I go into, and I've tried different industries, but any industry I go into, I want to come as close as I can to becoming the best expert on earth in that industry. Now, I'm not saying I ever achieve that, but I work at it. And each of my 4 startups, I spent between 2 and 7 years doing my homework before I went out and raised capital or convinced somebody to quit their job and move to Austin and go to work for me or whatever. And I want to really understand the industry and the business. I read all this stuff, and so often I see people that think that entrepreneurship and business is about money, that think it's about wealth creation, that think it's about technology. No, all it is about people. People on all sides, vendors, employees, but above all else, customers. And putting the customer on a pedestal and devoting your life to them, it's the only thing that really works. I mean, I look, and accounting is important, finance is important, marketing is important, and I've studied all that and I've done all that jazz. But you look, why did General Motors go down? And we could write a book, several books have been written, about the decline of General Motors. But I tell you, one of the very key ones that you look at the heart of it is they became obsessed with quarterly profits. And that became more important in their board meetings than the quality of the cars they made. And if you go back to when General Motors was the world's greatest company from the late 20s, at least through the early 60s, they were obsessed with making the best cars and listening to their customers. My conclusion after all that is that most people in most industries are not fundamentally curious. They are not out there looking around. They are not asking questions. Being curious and learning in many ways. The classroom is important, books are important, observation is important. Travel, getting out, the next county, the next nation, the next world, next planet someday, I guess. Talking to people. Talk to as many people as you can about your ideas. And then think about it. That's the thing a lot of my students miss is, okay, now you've captured all this data, now go off in the woods, turn off the phone, whatever works for you, and take 2 hours or 3 hours or a day or whatever, and just process all that. The third thing, people, curiosity, and the third thing is passion. Find me a great, lasting enterprise that was built by people that didn't love what they were doing. And so often, I had 3 MBA students come in, had this business plan, they had a team together, they were working on it, and I'd read the business plan the night before, and I'm kind of probing when they then came into my office. I said, well, why are you doing this? Oh, well, we've studied and we think there's a big opportunity. Well, why are you doing it? I kept probing, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I looked at all 3 in the eye, really nice young people, and I looked them in the eye and I said, look, that business plan had no passion in it. It had beautiful spreadsheets. There was no heart and there was no soul. And I got to look you guys in the eye because if you ain't got that, it ain't happening. It ain't happening, you know?